Hello, people of the world, and welcome back on the Marry in Motion podcast. Today I'm with a special guest, Emma. She's my friend.
Hi everyone.
We met 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Because we are working in the same company. And she told me that she lived for 2 years in Vietnam. And I was like, oh my God, she needs to be on the podcast. So could you tell us a bit more about how did it happen? What happened? Okay. Why did you go to Vietnam?
Okay, so basically it was because I had a 2 years exchange program in collaboration between the USTH, which is the University of Science and Technology of Hanoi, and they were collaborating with my university in France, which is the Université of Montpellier.
Mm-hmm.
And they selected a bunch of students who were highly motivated to study plants and pharmacology. And I was one of them. I got selected and I got there.
So cool.
Yeah, and I went there from September 2022 until March 2024.
Okay.
Yeah.
So really 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And why did you want to leave? Did you have this desire before, or did it grow because you saw this opportunity?
I went to Vietnam only because it was the only way for me to study plants and pharmacology at the same time, in English as well. I knew that at some point I would have to leave for studies, sooner or later, but I wasn't expecting to go there, in Vietnam specifically, and I wasn't expecting to leave France for my studies.
Mm-hmm.
It just happened, and I went with the flow, and I don't regret it at all.
Okay, and was it the first time you were in Asia?
Yes, it was my first time in Asia, my first time traveling this far away from my family, and for such a long time as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because for the first time you left for 2 years. That's a lot.
Yeah, because usually students, when they start studying abroad, or they just leave their city, or they just leave the country to go somewhere else, but it's still close, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I just decided to leave, and I was 12,000 kilometers away from my family, so I was like, okay, that's a huge step.
Yeah, because before, so you did your master there?
Yes.
But your bachelor you did always close to your family?
Yes, my bachelor degree was I've done it in Montpellier, so it was pretty easy for me. I was like, okay, I'm home.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that I need to leave after for my master degree was normal for me. But to go this far, I was like, okay, that's a huge step.
But during your bachelor's, were you living at your parents' place?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I've never left. Before Vietnam, I've never left.
Crazy.
Whatsoever, yeah.
So you went from
that was
0
crazy.
to oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And how was the setting? So you said you did an exchange with the university, but then there were a lot of students from Montpellier also, or a lot of international?
Because the concept of this collaboration is just creating a French-Vietnamese university based in Vietnam, where some French and Vietnamese teacher teach to different kind of students coming from everywhere in the world, but mostly from France and Vietnam.
Okay.
So this was how it was organized. I got selected by one of my teacher, who I knew from my very first day at the University of Montpellier. And he told me that he wanted me to go there with him because he also teaches there. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, I trust you. Let's do this. So that's how it started, yeah.
Yeah, you had already someone you knew, even though it was only a teacher.
Yeah.
And
so that's how I was confident enough to trust him and go this far away, because if it was something that I had to organize from A to Z, at some point I would have get unmotivated.
And did you live with some people you already knew?
No, actually.
Okay.
I went there only knowing this specific teacher and one student with whom I wasn't that close.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was like, okay, Emma,
really
this will be your adventure.
Yeah.
And after that, I met some people who I became very close.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was my neighbor, actually. So, yeah,
that's
very
cool.
nice.
So you said you had support from the university.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what did they do for you? For example, how did you find your accommodation?
They
everything?
helped us mainly in the visa, all of the procedure to find accommodations, to get the passport done on time. They helped us also in registering in different kinds of associations, just so that people could know that we would be in Vietnam for this specific amount of time. They mostly made sure that we were safe.
Yeah.
And that was basically it. After that, we needed to choose where to live. Either we wanted a motorbike or not. It was like our choice. Yeah.
And did you have a motorbike?
No. I didn't, because I was very, very stressed about it, because I know that Vietnam is very famous for its hectic traffic. So I knew that I wouldn't get a motorbike, just so that also my parents could sleep at night.
Yeah.
And but I used some at some point.
Yeah.
You have to.
Once you arrived, what were your first impressions of the country? Of the city, or like...
Well, first I shed a lot of tears before leaving, because at some point I realized that I was getting closer to leaving. So I was like, okay, Ma, the big day is coming, and yeah, everything that I was doing with my parents felt like it would be the last time. So my mother braided me before I left, and I was like, okay, this is going to be the last time I would get braid after a long time, and I was starting to cry. She came with me to the airport, and we were crying like for 30 minutes. But when I think about this, I'm like, okay, this was a good feelings, only good feelings, only good tears. But
yeah, still tears.
Yeah, I was still heartbroken at some point, but it was okay. And when I arrived, the realization came when I left the airport of Vietnam. Like when I left, and I felt like, you see the humidity and the heat coming through your face, and you're like, what is going on? And you're like, okay, I've never felt that before. And this was like, okay, Emma, you're not in France anymore. You're not in Europe anymore. You're like in Asia. You're in Vietnam, in Hanoi. So let's get started. That's how it started. That was so fun.
So that was your first impression.
Yes.
Your very first impression at the airport.
It's like, damn, it's humid.
Yeah.
And it's hot. That was my first impression, yeah.
During the first few weeks, did you get, not even the first few weeks, but what shocked you the most? Did you get culture shock?
At the beginning, my brain was conditioned to follow the specific to-do list I had in mind. I was like, Emma, you have a week to find an apartment, to finish off some of the paper procedures that needs to get done, and after that you can start enjoying the country. So what was my first culture shock was the traffic, of course, because I needed to go from the airport to my hotel, and people were driving like crazy. And also it's shocking the amount of things that they can put on their motorbike. Crazy. I was like, damn, okay, I'm here for real. So that was the first culture shock. I'm not sure if it's really a shock, but it was like something that stick to my mind.
To you.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the local culture? Did you manage to bond with the locals, for example?
Yes. And that is the best part of traveling, I think, because I made very good friends at school at first, because obviously
it's easier.
It's easier. I went there for school, so of course I knew that at some point I would have some friends there. And this is exactly what happened. I have very good friends, Vietnamese friends, with whom I still talk to. So very happy about that. And I also have French friends that I knew because of this exchange, and we are still close to this day. So that's very fun.
Yeah. Was it not so hard to be friends with them, even though there is a difference of culture? Did you feel sometimes that you were not aligned, or some misunderstanding?
Yes,
sometimes?
At the beginning also, because their English is not like ours. So making jokes, for example, is not the same. The sarcasm is not fully understood.
Mhm.
So yeah, I needed to fix some of my expressions just so that they could get fully understood. I felt like I was having a filter on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very complicated to embrace your personality in another language. So I felt
Mhm.
like I was a bit more shy, a bit more introvert, which is exactly not who I am when I speak in French. So yeah, that was a bit frustrating at the beginning because there are things that you want to scream out loud, there are things that you want to say, and you want them to be understood that way exactly. And the fact that they perceive it differently, you're like, come on.
Yeah. But like, how was your level of English before you arrived?
It
Did you
was-
see a lot of difference also?
Yes, it was good. At first, I knew that I needed to have a good level in English in order to understand the classes, the lessons. So I was confident in my English level, but after that, I needed to speak to locals. I needed to speak with some friends, and I realized that, for example, some of the slangs they use, some of the expressions they have, I'm like, okay, that's completely different. So I needed to learn from them as well. And yeah, there is for sure a before and after that in my English level, at least.
But I felt also when I was like the first time I went to a place like this and I needed to speak all the time in English, I was so tired in the evening.
Yeah.
Like, your brain is constantly working.
My brain was like, what is going on? At some point, I was starting to dream in English. I was like, okay, we reached a specific point.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
For me, the turning point was counting in English. Like, what? Why am I counting in English?
Yeah. And I'm the type of person who like to speak to herself. And I usually do this in French because that's how my brain is conditioned, right? And I start to do it in English now. I'm like, okay,
that's good.
That's good. Yeah.
What about the dating scene? You met some friends, but did you date some Vietnamese there?
No.
Okay.
Because they have their specific beauty standards. I mean, Asia is known for that. They put a lot of importance in looking good, in looking light. They specifically fear the sun. I remember that this is also one of the culture shocks I had because Vietnam is a very, very sunny, very, very hot country. And I saw some women being fully covered with like robes or something just so that they could hide from the sun. And that's how I understood that I wouldn't be part of the beauty standards. But I wasn't perceived as someone ugly. It was just, okay, she's beautiful on her own. It's not what we expect our wives to look like, but we can tell that she's looking good.
Yeah.
That's what a friend told me, actually. I was like, okay, come on, you can tell that I'm black, so how am I perceived by Vietnamese people, especially the elderlies? And they were like, okay, they think you're cute. They see that you're beautiful in your way. It's just that I wouldn't marry you just because my grandparents wouldn't be okay with that.
Yeah.
You see? And I understood their point of view. It's just that I knew that I wouldn't date there because they're not my type. I'm not theirs, but okay.
Yeah, okay.
But we could develop on that on another podcast if you want.
True.
We should do that, yeah.
We
because
should
I have
do
plenty of
another
things to say about the dating scene in Asia, so yeah.
Okay, let's see in the next episode.
Yeah.
I would like to talk about the connection you had with your family again. Because you said that you were very close to your family.
Yeah.
And so it was the first time you were leaving them. So how did it feel? How did you, did you miss them a lot? How did you stay connected?
Yeah. Just to have some background, I'm the big sister. We are 3 little sisters, and we live with our mother. We are very, very close to one another, and I was the very first to leave house, which is basically normal because I'm the big one, right? And the fact that I had to leave this far was making this situation very complicated at some point. And I knew that I would miss them. And I knew also that there would be events that I would miss also. And I was struck with guilt at some point. At the beginning, I missed them a lot, especially at nighttime. Because we are loud people. The house is never quiet. And the fact that I have to sleep alone without no one saying anything or screaming somewhere, I was like, okay, that's weird. I'm not used to the quiet. And that was complicated at the beginning, but after that,
you got used to it?
Yeah, I got used to it pretty, not quickly or easily, but it came with time. And yeah, I remember that every night I was calling them because I wanted to talk to them, just so that we used to do. And I wanted to talk to them about everything I was saying, everything I was seeing, everything I was doing. And it was very frustrating, especially with the time difference.
Yeah, because how is it 7 hours?
Yes, 7 hours ahead. So I needed to wait for my little sister to come back from school, but it was already midnight in Vietnam. So I was like, come on, I need to sleep, but I need to tell you about the crazy thing that happened to me this morning. And it was just frustrating.
Was it possible to call them in the morning for you? And super late for them?
Yeah, we managed to do this also. My mother, she got used to waking up early, just so that she could call me before going to work and starting her day, which is something that I really appreciate because it made my life much more easier. This was our morning routine. When I woke up, she was like, "Emma, you up?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm up." And we were having our little chit chat. So this was nice.
But you said you called them every day at the beginning, but then did you keep doing that, or did it slow down?
No, with my mother, we called each other every day, either in the morning or at night, or both, depending on if we were busy or not. My little sister, it depended because they were at school, obviously, so they also had their routine. So it was once every other day.
Yeah, okay, but still often.
Still often, because I needed to speak to them. Yeah, I would not change that. I knew that they are a huge part in my life, so I was like,
yeah. And did they come to visit you?
Yes, they did. They did.
Who?
One of my sister came, Nelly, Nene, however you want to call her, and my mother after that, she came.
Oh, so they came at 2 different times.
Yeah, okay. Nene came after the first year of master. So it was in 2023, and my mother also came in 2023, but the end of the year. It was in December 2023.
Okay. So and they liked it?
They loved it. They loved it. Because after my first year, during my first year of the master degree, we managed to create some habits to make sure that we would share activities together. It wasn't just, we should call. It was just, we should have a Netflix party, watch this or that with my sister. Cool, we create some habits just so that we could share moments together. And we also managed to catch up at the same time. And we did the same also with my mother, because we had our online cooking classes. She wanted to make sure that I was eating. So she was like, okay, I've seen this recipe, so you should buy this and that ingredient and we should cook together. And this is something that actually stayed. It became a tradition between us. Cool. So that's nice. That's how we managed to stay in touch before they arrived and visit me. Yeah. And
did you go back to France in between also?
Yes, I did. During summertime, we had 2 or 3 months of break. So I was like, okay, I need to come back. It's time. I need to come back. I was really anticipating this moment, the first reunion, going back to France, and I loved it also.
Did you see France in a different way
when
you came back?
Yes. I was captivating about how France is not as good as we think it is in some ways. I was able now to compare France to another country. And I was like, okay, there are things that I adore in France, There are
Mhm.
things that makes life much more easier for us.
Mhm.
But there are also things that could be changed.
Yeah, because it was the first time you were living in another country.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like if we just go on holidays,
It's
you cannot
different.
really see.
Exactly,
You cannot really
because my
compare.
mother and my little sister, they came to visit me as tourists. They stayed, let's say, for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
So their perception of Vietnam is completely different from mine. Mine was like, okay, I'm basically a local. I live there. I have my habits. I go to the market. I pay my bills. I study there.
Mhm.
There are many things that I did there that they couldn't do. So they were really enjoying Vietnam because they were tourists. I
Yeah.
think that if they were to stay as long as I did, I'm not sure they would have enjoyed as much as they enjoy as being tourists.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. When they came, you had some time off and you could show them the country?
Exactly.
Okay.
I was making sure that they could come at a time where I was free
Mhm.
with no class, so that I could show them as much as I could of the country, because Vietnam is a big country, and I'm still quite sad that I haven't visited everything I wanted to.
Mhm.
But I had a little list of everything that they could like for sure, and I was like, okay, let's do this, let's do
Mhm.
this. I had like a Google Doc where I made this list of this you will like, this you will
Mhm.
like. Yeah, either it's a little restaurant or either it's like a day trip outside of Hanoi. I made sure that we had a good program.
Did you do the same thing for both of them?
No, actually, because
Okay.
they have their two different personalities, and I know that my mother would like something a bit slower.
Mhm.
My little sister would like to visit everything, you see. She's like a bit more adventurous than my mother.
And did you just stay in Hanoi or did you go stay some nights somewhere else?
With my little sister, we visited different cities in Vietnam,
Mm-hmm.
but we left for a few days in Seoul, Korea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
So it's not the same country. And with my mother, we left a few days in Hoi An. Yeah, it's the center of Vietnam, and it's well known for its food and the tailor shops. So we went there for a few days. We were in a hotel. Unfortunately, it was raining a lot because we were supposed to go to the beach, and we didn't go to the beach. So yeah, but we enjoy also this trip. Yeah, it was fantastic actually. It was very
Did
nice.
you made some clothes
Yes,
tailored?
we did. Yes,
Yeah,
we did.
cool.
Yeah. I have a beautiful white dress that I still haven't worn yet.
Why?
Don't know why. I don't know. I need to wait for the specific occasion, I think.
Okay, but what kind of style is it? Is it like nice sundress
Yes, nice sundress, white, very light.
for a picnic?
Yeah, maybe.
As this episode was very long, we decided to cut it in 2 parts. So here you have the beginning of our discussion. I hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for the rest of our chat about Emma's life in Vietnam.